welcome to the program. I am DEJI360. Over 90 million registered voters will decide who will become the next president of Nigeria in February presidential election, representing over 20% increase from the 81.2 million registered voters in 2019. Now, this was revealed last Wednesday when the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Mahmood Yakubu, presented the voter register at a meeting with leaders of political parties at the INEC headquarters, Abuja. Going by the figures, the Northwest and Southwest geopolitical zones have the highest number of eligible voters. The register also shows that 39.65% of voters are between the ages of 18 and 34, while 35.75% are middle-aged persons between the ages of 35 and 49. As of January 4th, records from INEC revealed that 6.7 million permanent voter cards are still uncollected in 17 states. On Friday, INEC announced an extension of the time frame for the collection of permanent voter cards from January 22nd to 29th at registration wards and local government offices. The Commission also says the final figure of PVCs collected will be collated and disclosed after the deadline. So what does the voter register tell us? Joining me to discuss this now is Abu Hamisu, who is a political affairs analyst. He joins us from Abuja. Stamisu, thank you very much for joining us on the program. You look at that register, what exactly does it tell you?
Thank you so very much for having me. What the register tells us is that we have authenticated eligible voters that are registered and they've signified their interest to vote by the virtue of the fact that they presented themselves to INEC to capture them and then submit all the necessary requirements that will enable INEC to document them as eligible voters that are going to cast the ballot come February this year when we continue the process of electing our representatives.
Now, when you look at, a breakdown of the figures now, over 90 million registered voters, but the majority of them are young people. So do you then get the impression that it's actually young people who will decide who becomes the next president of Nigeria? So you look at this slide, for instance, those between the ages of 18 and 34, it's over 37 million. So we're talking about 37 million and 60,000. And then the middle-aged, between 35 and 49, 33 million. So when you add the youths now and the middle-aged, because even the middle-aged people too, you can consider them now as young, the figure is really, really high.
Yes. Yeah, that is the truth. When you go to observe elections across Nigeria, you come to realize the fact that majority of those that vote are youth as well as the middle-aged persons. Unfortunately, when you go further into areas where these ballots are casted, you come to realize that majority of those that vote are always in the rural areas compared to the township. You go to the rural areas, when you observe elections, you see a lot of young persons as well as the aged are queued to vote, especially in the rural areas compared to the urban areas. Most of us in the urban areas are glued to our televisions, or we're busy with our phones, or we're busy with our laptops, or we're busy with our jobs that are paying the bills. So that is another problem. Those of us that are informed, we don't really go out to vote because we feel that it is stressful. And that is why if you come to Abuja, for instance, the city center, you go to Lekki area in Lagos State, is the same scenario. So the eyebrow areas, the GRAs return figures that are less than the number of people that vote. And that is why most of the results usually come a day or two after elections, because the real votes are in the rural areas. I wish those that are in the city centers that are not voting will conscientize those that are in the rural areas that are voting to vote for the right persons that can turn the future, the future of this country around.
Now, over 90 million registered voters, that's really high. And but the issue is, when, according to INEC, going by the figures of the last two election cycles, 2015 and 2019, voter turnout hovered around between 30% and 35%. Do you think we're likely to see a better turnout this time, that we might exceed those figures?
Yes, yes, and there are factors that indicated so. First and foremost, it has to do with the contestants in this very particular election. If you see the caliber of people that are contesting and what they are doing in terms of mobilizing their supporters, which has equally translated into a massive collection of PVCs and addition to the number of eligible voters, you come to agree with me that the tendency that the turnout will be more than what we used to witness in the past is higher. At no time it is higher than now. If you look at the obedience group, they are there. They are still mobilizing their people to go collect PVC. The Ashwaji group are there equally doing the same thing. The Atiku group, the Konkoso group, and all of them are canvassing that their supporters should go get their PVCs. And these are really assisted in upping in terms of the total number of registered. It started with conscientizing their members to even register, present themselves to INEC to register them, as well as going further to collect so it's going to be interesting, and we hope that with this kind of conscientization and mass mobilization, the voter turnout will be greater than what we witnessed before, where you have just maybe 12 million voters deciding who will rule Nigeria as the president of Nigeria out of a population of over 200 million. This is abnormal. It's ridiculous. It's not supposed to be so.
Well, let's just hope things will change this time. But let's look at those figures again. Let's look at the Southwest and the Northwest. They have the highest number of registered voters. No, I'm talking about the Southwest and Northwest geopolitical zones now. Both zones have the highest number of registered voters. So when you look at the figures now, so the Northwest having over 22 million, the Southwest having over 17 million registered voters, do you get the impression that these two zones are critical? They are critical to anybody who will win this the next presidential election?
Well, it is critical and it is not critical, my brother. The reasons being that no region as it stands today can go it alone.
Absolutely.
Based on the constitutional requirement to securing any national position. And so they are critical because the mass of the votes are in those very particular geopolitical zones. But again, you cannot neglect any other zone because you need the spread that the constitution requires you to get before you can be declared as the winner. So it's a coalition politics. You have to. It doesn't mean that because maybe the Northwest is having the highest vote and Atiku is coming from the Northwest, Atiku is going to carry the day. It doesn't mean that, okay, because the Southwest is having second largest vote and Ashwaji is coming from there, is going to carry the day. It all depends on your ability to mobilize the people. And this is what we are seeing. We are made to believe that APC owns the Southwest. But the last election in Osun State has really told us that the people are determined to do whatever they feel like doing. In the North, Bauchi State used to be for APC, but PDP took over. Bayelsa State used to be a PDP state. In the last election, before the court decided, APC took it. So it is not about what region you think you have your strength. It is about what you can do in other regions to get the constitutional requirement to win election at the national level. So it doesn't mean that because the Southwest, Ashwaji is coming from the Southwest, is going to clear the Southwest. He has to convince the Southwest people. He has to convince the South people. He has to convince the people from the North Central. So it is the ability of the parties to mobilize the needed support base that will sail them to victory at the national level.
But you must also admit that it's very critical for a candidate to do well in those states, especially those zones and states now that have the highest number of votes. Of course, I can understand this 25% thing, but it's also critical that if you're going to win a presidential election, then there are some key states that, as a candidate, you must win.
Yes, that was why I said they are both critical, but they are not equally critical. It all depends on your permutation. If, for instance, Atiku is given 100% vote in the North, and is not able to secure the spread in the South, it means he's not going anywhere. It happens with Buhari. We've seen it. Buhari consistently got 12 million votes, but he has no spread to win the election at the national level. And until the coalition came together ACN and other remnant of AMPP then to fuse together CPC before it can be able to become the president. So even if your region should give you 100% vote and you are not able to mobilize vote from other regions to give you the spread, you are not going anywhere. That is the political equation in Nigeria.
All right, let's just wait and see what the turnout will be this time. But you know, with the kind of enthusiasm we've seen, the expectation is that the turnout will be high. But I would not be surprised, and I wonder if you would be surprised if the turnout still hovers between 30 and 35%. Would you be surprised?
No, I will not be surprised. Why I will not be surprised is that the democratic dividend that we've been open for has not come. Instead of democratic dividends, it's insecurity, unemployment, inflation. So people are really asking questions. Is it the democracy that we've been dying for? And then this has led to apathy too. And secondly, the drive, we know a lot of factors that will go into play, but Nigerians are equally asking questions. Is the democracy that we fought for, is this the democracy that we said will lead to development? And then we are reaping insecurity, we are reaping inflation, we are reaping unemployment. So this again is another angle to what will affect the polls. But in terms of the enthusiasm, going by what the parties are doing in terms of mobilizing their supporters, we hope that the turnout will surpass what we used to have in the past.
All right. Abu Hamisu, thank you very much for joining us on the program, and thank you for your insights.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so very much. I will take a short break and we'll be right back. Stay with us, don't go away.
Opinions are free, facts are sacred, but truth is universal.
How, in practical terms, can we, for instance, de-escalate the tension?
President must see himself as the president of the Federal Republic.
We know where the enemy is. 3 places. The Lake Chad Basin, the border area between Nigeria and Cameroon, and then the Sambisa Forest.
On DEJI360, we give you a complete dose of everything. Opinion, facts, and undiluted truth.
I hardly believe what politicians say in this part of the world.
A new Nigeria is possible, a future is possible.
We delve into the issues, dissect it so that you can understand it, use it to take action.
I don't think there's any need for any governor to look for grant for ranching.
DEJI360, dissecting the issues.